Hey, Ron here. And today we're going to talk about how YouTube demonetization affects different groups of people in different ways. Specifically, how YouTube demonetization affects people on the left and people on the right in very different ways, and why that is. Spoiler alert, it has to do with how much fundraising the right has. So I got into a very heated argument in a very inappropriate venue, and this is kind of me putting my thoughts on that in a coherent manner. So let's go back to the Steven Crowder thing. You remember when there was a big ruckus about Steven Crowder being a bigoted, homophobic cretin to Carlos Maza? You remember how there was some fallout to that, but not nearly enough fallout to that? Specifically how Steven Crowder's channel was demonetized for selling offensive merchandise. And how now we understand that there's discrimination going on across YouTube towards people who are gender and sexual minorities. So they literally punished Steven Crowder by treating him like a person that he was insulting, except less, somehow. So, it needs to be understood that just being demonetized did not affect Steven Crowder very much. It didn't affect his output or his earnings very much, I suppose. Quite honestly, CRTV probably puts more money into YouTube than they get from YouTube in terms of advertising. But that's because they have outside sources of funding. Outside sources like, dark money groups organized by the Koch brothers, like the fucking NRA funding things, other rich billionaires, the RNC. Point being, these alternative forms of media online do have wealthy donors, and these wealthy patrons do a lot of funding, so that even if they don't have money, even if the things aren't financially viable, they're able to continue to function. It's important because they're propaganda. And, propaganda is useless if no one's watching it. On the left, however, we don't have that. If a person like, say, ContraPoints, or I think Guxian was the example that I used, has their videos demonetized or is removed from Patreon or something like that, they can't make videos anymore because they need to eat. Steven Crowder is going to eat. Steven Crowder is going to be able to pay the rent on his... Switchy, stop it. Steven Crowder is going to be able to eat. Steven Crowder is going to be able to pay the rent on his apartment, even if his videos make less than $0, because he's not being paid by YouTube. He's not being paid by Patreons. He's being paid by these dark money groups. The left doesn't have dark money groups. The idea that the left has dark money groups is literally a joke. That's the George Soros joke. So, it has to be understood that removing monetization features or removing the ability for people to pay people on the left on YouTube is an entirely different beast than doing it to the right. If you remove monetization from someone on the left on YouTube, especially someone who relies on that, then you are effectively censoring them, because they're not going to be able to continue making that content. 7 times out of 10, they're not going to be able to continue making that content. And Steven Crowder, and Ben Shapiro, and Charlie Kirk, and, I don't know, fucking Ted Nugent, are going to be able to keep making their content. There's a difference. There's a difference that is entirely contextual. And think it's exceptionally arrogant. I think it's exceptionally arrogant to pretend that that difference doesn't exist. We're not just fighting a war of ideas. There isn't just a battle of ideas going on the internet. There's a battle of money going on the internet. And the right is winning that. The right has always been winning that. That's why fascism is ascendant in fucking everywhere in the world right now. I guess what I'm saying is that it is absolutely vital that if you find some content that you like, that you support that content. Not necessarily just financially. I understand, and you should feel no shame for not being able to support something financially. It is equally important that you share a video, that you like videos, that you leave a comment under videos, even if that comment is just, I don't have anything to say, but I'm just leaving a comment to let you know that I appreciate you. That sort of engagement. I was talking about this, like, from my time 20 minutes ago, but from your time, probably 2 weeks ago. That kind of engagement, we on the left have the manpower to completely wreck the algorithm just using engagement tools. And I feel like we should do that more. Also, do not comment far-right videos. If you possibly can, watch them in incognito mode. So, very gentle reminder, I do still have a Ko-Fi. If you found this video entertaining or informative, feel free to send a couple of bucks at me. Don't feel obligated to. I'm doing this as a labor of love, not through financial incentivization, but every little bit does help. I also have a curious cat if you want to ask me questions anonymously. Got a list of videos, reading them off around roughly the same time, so I don't know what video is next. So, until we get there, take care of yourselves, alright?